And we are back here at Morning Shot. And Byron, the South African National Defence Force, i.e., the Army, apparently want to deploy under the command of the President Jacob Zuma to quell South Africa in general, by the looks of things. Excuse me, there was a leak. Sorry. Gosh, all this, the French pollen's terrible. Anyway, there was a leaked memo saying that the SANDF is ready to deploy when the president wants them to deploy. So just take us through the story while I recover a little bit, please.
Yeah, Ramon, I think the story was so amazing that it's got you choked up. Um, Actually, this was a leaked memo which came to us as Morning Shot leaked. We actually saw the army conscript, and we initially read it, and it was basically deployment orders, sending the National Defence Force out into South Africa. But it wasn't really, but it kind of was, but it wasn't. Now that might sound confusing because it was basically an instruction to be ready to deploy, but they haven't actually been deployed. Now, the reason we originally didn't take this very serious is because the email address used on the instruction form was a Gmail address. So the army uses Gmail. Good to know.
Yeah, and
And
literally, I have it in front of me. So it's zaza301@gmail.com. That's on the
so
official
we
press statement by the army. No, not a press statement, memo.
so we
Very odd.
so we originally read it and we were like, but it turns out it's real. So okay, army uses Gmail. Great one, Google. Anyway, so they basically saying that due to South Africa approaching a degree of civil unrest, the army has been put on alert in accordance with Section 201.1 of the Constitution, which is mainly the prevention of life, health, property, but it's not against the people. In other words, if you read between the lines, it sounds a bit like what the army is trying to do is they're trying to deploy so we don't have another riot, peaceful protest in Durban.
Insurrection, yes.
Um, well, apparently there were 12 insurrectionists and nobody's ever found them. So they're still out there ready to cause cuck, I suppose. Anyway, some people have speculated, and we've seen this in the news. News 24 did a speculation that they thought that this might have been sparked by the gang rape of 8 women in Krugersdorp. Some people think it might even be because of the illegal mining. It might be because of Zama Zama. But, we have a little different take of it, and that is the public prosecutor has made an announcement that the Stalingrad strategy, which is often used to avoid prosecution by key members of the ANC government, is coming to an end. Now, you might go, well, why is that important? Well, there was due to be a trial in August. It has now been postponed, or it is postponed till October. But the original trial date of the 23rd of August, I think it's 23rd, well, you can correct me, was due to for Jacob Zuma to appear back in court for his corruption charge. And we all know what happened the last time Zuma went to court, and we had a great old barbecue and burned some shopping malls. And civil society got to show what the enclave system would actually look like as it barricaded its roads and blixed anybody that would walk in their streets. So it wasn't exactly a good time for the country, but that trial has now been moved to October. And I suppose it's interesting to see that the army have been put on alert of the possible unrest. What's your take, Ramon?
Yeah, so interesting. So basically, what the press statement says, or the internal memo, or whatever the hell they are calling it, it basically says, we are ready to cooperate and support SAPS in quelling any form of unrest that may arise. They don't detail what sort of unrest they're talking about. And, the SANDF wants to play a secondary role, and in this case, to support or cooperate with the South African Police Service. So I'm not too sure about you, Byron, but I get the shivers when the army is used to be deployed within the borders of South Africa to fight crime, because it's not their duty to do that. They are not trained to do that, as we saw in the lockdown when the army was deployed to shoot hundreds of people who were sitting outside drinking beers, for example. And thirdly, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. South Africa is like criminal paradise for the last 30 years. It's not bad. It's not worse today than it was last year, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. One could argue. So to have this
Mm.
memo leak and to say that the president is just waiting for an intelligence report to deploy the army to play a secondary role to SAPS, I don't know how this makes sense in any way. So people are saying that the Zamazamas are the cause of this, but the Zamazamas, as you'll see in our next video, have been around for 20 years, right?
Yep.
The Zamazamas and the areas in which they operate are far more violent than the ordinary South African city or ordinary South African town. So I don't know if the president is trying to just have a show of force to say that, look, I'm still the president, I can still fight crime. Or number two, Becky said is a complete twat, so Ramaphosa is taking over in terms of trying to solve it. Or number
Very
three,
possible.
the sort of youth league and RET faction in KZN are making uppity claims because they just won and beat all of Cyril's lieutenants in that province. So maybe they are planned to do something or other against Cyril. So
With a
that's
show of
why,
force. Mm.
yeah. So that's why they want to maybe deploy the army to combat that sort of thing. It seems to be like more of a political game than an actual crime fighting initiative to me, if it's real, which we still don't know.
Well, it's in News 24, and they think it's real. So YouTube, we're only relaying the news. We don't make it. But I suppose for me personally, the thing that I take, should we say, comfort on is that it's apparently only 200 soldiers. So what the freak they're going to do with 200 soldiers? I don't know, mate. Like you couldn't even control the Cape Flats with 200 soldiers. So I don't know. What if they got planned?
Well,
I
as
don't know.
long as if they are deployed, I hope they just bring along to their lunch tin because they tend to run out of supplies and food and whatever else on the way or on the way back from wherever they are going. So one hopes the butt course is in order before they are deployed in a material way. And as we said last week in a video, you must watch it by the way. I'll link it down below. The army doesn't exist in a material sense.
No,
It's bankrupt. Thousands of people are being
they've
led.
got no guns.
Yeah, they got no guns, they got no ammo, they got no training. They don't have any maintenance on any of their vehicles or tools or anything like that. So how do we even know if they are deployed? I mean, even at the height of the lockdown, I didn't see a single army member or soldier anywhere
No,
in
neither,
Joburg.
neither. I mean, it's very interesting what the deployment construct actually says. It says at point 8, it says that there's no reconnaissance. It's no reconnaissance group because it's an urgent matter. So they just have to wait instructions. Well, that sounds like a great plan. I mean, obviously everybody knows you go into battle just head on, and you just never check where you're going. The other thing is they say the main force is out for crowd control. So what exactly is a crowd control for? So it does kind of, the army has given out a statement to basically say the reason that they are on instructions is because South Africa is becoming more as a state of more unrest, and they're expecting more protests. But long story short, man, like, there's not beat around the bush. This is clearly the army being deployed, probably to KZN because they're expecting more riots. Like that's all it is.
Yeah,
It's probably they're just worried about another insurrection, and it's like
yeah.
this is the only way the president knows how to do it now.
And it's not about protecting citizens, it's about protecting the president.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a political
And
deployment
specifically,
rather than a real
and
one.
specifically, yeah, and specifically the president's face, as in to show that he's, as you very rightly said, that he still has control.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. I mean, if the army, does deploy, I'll eat, I don't know, Byron's hat or something. Not that he has one. So, but I don't think this will be the case until perhaps October if Zuma actually does go to trial for the first time in 30 years. So anyway, let's see where this goes. But I think it's nonsense. And the only way we'll know is if Cyril Ramaphosa actually tells Parliament that he will deploy them because he's obligated to do so. And there we go. And I think even if they are deployed, no one will notice them because their stealth capabilities are just like top notch.
Yeah, and even if they are deployed, I hope they have Assegai, mate, because let's face it, they don't have bullets.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Yep. Bye.